All right, so everybody should have, like I said, we're going to do monochromatic. Remember, mono meaning one. Chromatic means color. And that's any color in the color wheel, and we're adding white to tint and black to shade our color. Okay? So, as we get started, I told you you could either use your palette wells to mix, or you can use the palette, whatever is easier. The first thing we're all going to start with is we're going to start with our white. Okay? So whatever color you've chosen, I recommended starting with a dark color that's pre-mixed, such as red or blue. But we're gonna make our first highlight on our sphere, and I'm gonna notice how I did a tiny dot of red, and I'm gonna mix that directly into my to my white, excuse me. And it's kind of hard to see, so I'm gonna lift it up closer at an angle. It should look like a light pink. It almost looks white, but it should look like a light pink. And I want to just go slow and be gentle and make sure I get all the edges and make sure everything is mixed. And this should be light pink. There we go. Huh? Yes, you should be able to but very, very light. Do you see do you still how it always almost looks white? But if you come closer, if you want to come look at my palette too, you guys can come up here and look. Because I know it's hard to see. It looks light pink up here. It doesn't look white anymore. See? Light pink. Yeah. Mix the whole thing, light pink. This is going to be our first level of light value. Remember, tinting, and I'm going to load up my brush with that, and I'm going to paint that first level, and I'll do a little value thing out here. We're going to keep slowly adding red to increase the level of saturation, so our ball is going to get darker red as we go. This little sliver down here will actually be the dark. We're going to make the pure red from the bottle, and then the shadow is where we're going to clean our brush and just have red and black. So right now we just mixed a little bit of red into our white, and we made a light red. And people always get confused. Say, I thought pink was a separate color. No, pink is actually a light red. But after I get that done, I'm going to go back to my red, and I'm going to take a little bit more. I don't want too much. And I'm going to mix that back in and to make it darker in saturation. It's going to be a little bit darker pink. If it looks too similar, which mine does right now, that's why we always want to go slow. Remember, we're always working light to dark. I'm going to come back and I'm going to get a little bit more red. But I want to be careful because I don't want it to get too pink, too dark. And now I'm going to paint the next level. And then when I'm painting, I want to make sure I'm covering up the lines on the paper. I don't want to see those lines. And it's gonna blend. Everybody doing all right? Anybody need help? You need some extra white if you mix it too dark. Remember, lighten it up. You can adjust it as you go. Okay? And now I'm gonna go back to my red, and I'm gonna make it just slowly making it darker red. And if you're not sure if it's dark enough, you can also do this. See how I just put a little dot? So if it's not dark enough, I'll know I need to add a little bit more red. If you got a brush that's too big, you can get a smaller detail brush. You can also, show you a little trick, load up your brush, use your hand or your pinky, hold it up, and then just gently get that top area. And then I'm just gonna keep going each level. I'm gonna keep adding a little bit more red to make it get darker. And this level, usually people have difficulty getting darker. So that's why I recommend putting a little dot next to each level as you go. Trust your intuition. If you think that looks like the same color, look, that looks too similar, right? I need to add a little bit more red. This is not a race. You can go slow. If you need my help, I'm here for you. I can help you. So that's why we're practicing this first. So you will be happier with your results this semester. Notice how I'm using, look at the paint in my well. I'm using lots of paint. You want to make sure you have enough paint to work with. Now it's your paint, look how smooth it's going on. I see the full color. I don't see the white of my page. I also don't see any of those lines. So you guys can see it's having a natural transition from light to dark. I'm not blending the colors. You guys notice how the monochromatic, each layer is separated, but it's going to slow, it's transitioning. It's called optical mixing with painting. I'm also going to teach you how to blend your paint. This is a really helpful technique, especially when you're painting portraits. You want something realistic. This is how you would do it. So again, now I'm going to do the next level. Add more red. And it's okay if you're struggling and you need to practice this again. Like I said, I have extra copies where you can start over. Once it's dry, you can also paint over it. And each time, you notice how I put a little dot down next to it, just to make sure that I'm making it dark enough. You're going to get to choose which colors you like the best to work with this semester. And you could have done this sphere with any color that you chose that we mixed today. You could have done it in teal, purple, orange. But I was just suggesting for the first time, I think for the best results is using a pre-mixed color, because sometimes it's harder when you have to make your own color. If you run out, sometimes people don't make the same color each time. So That's why I recommended you doing that. So now I'm going back and adding more red. And like I said, all these are going to be recorded, and I'll upload them to Canvas, so you'll be able to come back and reference them, or you can practice at home. If you want to go buy paint, I know Cargo Largo has a really great art aisle, and these paints are not that expensive. I can also give you paint. I ordered to-go containers, so you'll be able to take your palette home and also take paint home to work at home. But I'm still waiting on those supplies to come in. And luckily, my room is back here, so like, if you get in a bind and you need to drive up to school and meet me outside real quickly, we can do that too. I can get y'all hooked up. There we go. That's my last level. Remember, the last sliver of my sphere is going to be pure red. If you need more paint at any time, don't be afraid to get it. Ah! Accidentally dropped it on there. Can fix that easily. So to fix that, it's actually good it happened. Just going to wipe that up with the paintbrush that's dry. And I have some white still, so I can match that color and get that all fixed up. Perfect. So for the next two levels, there's two levels. You're going to want to make sure you clean your brushes out. You don't want for the next levels, this is going to be red straight from the bottle, and then our shadow is going to be red with black that has been shaded. So we want to make sure that we clean our brush out completely, because if we have any white mixed in with that color, it will turn gray, and we don't want that. It'll look weird. It's called, a term that you might have heard before is that it will make your colors muddy, okay? And be careful too, if your paint has white mix in it, try not to use any paint that has that white in it. So I'm going to, and if you need to get more paint, like I said, feel free to get more paint. I'm going to paint in bottom of my sphere. If you need to get a tip, a smaller paintbrush, you can, or you can roll your paintbrush so you get all the paint at the edge. not supposed to use it 20 minutes before class is out. Yeah, we had the 2020 rule. You could please wait. So for the shadow, I'm going to be taking my red, remember with no white, and then a tiny bit of black. It should not look black. It should look like a dark red. And that is going to be our shadow. Alright? So that is how you do monochromatic from in any color from light to dark. So I used white to tint my color, and I slowly increased red each time. I never blended my colors together. Each section is separated. And then for the shade, I mixed black and red with no white to create my shadow. And that gives the optical illusion that your object is three-dimensional and light to dark.